Welcome to Rock Shop Talk. Our show talks best practices, fun anecdotes, and the latest cutting-edge technology in our field to kick your printing gears in a hyperdrive. Today's episode features having it made with the Stampinator. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be right back.
Want to welcome everybody back to Rock Shop Talk, your one-stop rock shop where we talk all things screen printing. I am ROQ US President Ross Hunter. Alongside me today is our creative producer, Mr. Merrill Capps, and we are also joined with Ryan Moor of Made Lab, All Made, Ryanette, etc., etc. And our special guest here as well is Mr. Jeff Fiorucci of Slant Engineering and the creator of the Stampinator, which is going to be what we are talking about today. Welcome in, everyone. How are you?
Great. How about you?
I'm fantastic. It's beautiful here in the Pacific Northwest. We have sunshine
Finally.
for the first time.
Finally.
It's been like a really late spring of rain, and now we've got some nice 80-degree weather. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It has been,
I've
been in Texas a lot, and it was very hot in Texas last week, about 104.
Ugh.
Nice.
Yeah, the South. And I think this whole weekend is supposed to be even worse, right?
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
Going back there on tomorrow, it's going to be 105.
Yeah, that doesn't sound pleasant because that's like muggy 105 in Texas. Dry heat at 105 I can deal with, but you have the humidity in there. It gets kind of nasty.
It's the best time to do a screen printing class when it's 105 degrees outside.
Yeah, 105 degrees, turn on some heaters and have some fun. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you guys have AC in the Made Lab?
We do. Fortunately, we have AC both at Printed Threads and at Made Lab, and it stays pretty cool. So
nice.
It's not too bad.
Nice.
Well, you have AC in your shop?
I don't. We have high humidity and about 95 to 100.
I've been in that shop
office we do.
In August and experienced myself, and it's a lovely facility, but it's like walking into a sauna.
Yeah, you guys told me I had one
up.
of the cleanest facilities you've been in. So
you did,
nice.
you did.
It's a good way to lose some weight. It's like, you print, you're working out, you got the heat going, you got the sauna going, you just sweat everything
that old
out.
school gym.
Actually, Ross, here's how you lose weight in this business. You come into work, you're working in 195, whatever it is. When you go home, you just don't feel like eating. You don't want a hot meal. So it's like I always tell everyone, if you want to lose weight, come work with me. I can make that happen.
That's awesome. A little fringe benefit, right, of working in a screen printing shop in the middle of summer. We've got a lot to get through today. I know, Merrill, you've got some updates on what's going on here at ROQ US. We've got some giveaways, some marketing stuff going on. Let's tell everyone listening what's going on.
We are giving away one ticket each to 2 lucky winners to the Shirt Lab Chicago sales and marketing event in Chicago, Illinois from July 21st to 22nd. Flights are included if you're located in the continental U.S. It's very exciting. So this place, you get insights, strategies, all your sales and marketing questions answered by leaders of some of the best in our industry. The tickets include entry to the event, a swag bag, entry to exclusive VIP dinner. You'll get the chance to meet and hang out with a select group of Shirt Lab instructors, sponsors, and VIP shop owners. And to enter the win, very simple, 3 ways. Follow ROQ YOU at rock.us on Instagram. Like the post with a recent Shirt Lab graphic in our feed. Tag a fellow decorated apparel industry friend in the comments. You feel free to tag as many people as you want. And you get a bonus entry if you share the post to your stories and tag at rock.us. So lots of ways to win there. The giveaway ends Friday, the 24th. Winners will be announced in our Instagram stories on that evening. So lots of cool stuff there. And also, we at ROQ US wanted to wish everyone a happy and safe reflected Pride Month. And we'd also like to wish everyone a happy and safe and reflective belated Juneteenth. We missed everyone for that. Hope everyone had a great day. And for tips and resources to encourage and embrace equity, diversity, inclusion in our industry and beyond, please visit unitetogether.us.
That was awesome, dude. I would have tongue twistered that one up. That was a lot of information. That's great. We're excited
I appreciate that.
to go to Shirt Lab and see a bunch of folks there. It's a really cool giveaway, flights included, big deal. People should definitely get on and like and share and tag. It's exciting.
I will have to say that Shirt Lab is probably one of the better industry events out there. Always really good information, a great community around there. So if you have a chance to enter, and the fact that it's, an all-inclusive trip, it's definitely a great experience, and we give it a good go.
Well, cool. Let's get to the topic of the day, the Stampinator. And Slant Engineering. Again, we're here with Jeff to talk about that. I wanted to get started just kind of with the origin story. Stampinator. I mean, where did the concept derive from? How did you get there? When was it invented? Why did you make it? And what brought us to where we're at today?
Yeah, so the Stampinator was created because we were doing about 25,000 backpacks for Under Armour. And they wanted transfers. So it was like, we could go out and buy 6 or 7 of these hat presses and just hit the backpack right on the pocket. But, the production side is conversation. People aren't focused. You're not getting it done. So I basically did a cardboard cutout, kind of mocked something up, and went out and bought a Geonite heat press, tore it apart, and put it together. And next thing you know, I'm running 5,000 transfers a day with the Stampinator on a little Sportsman press. So it was a game changer at that point. And, I knew I had something, but wasn't quite sure what it was. And back then, that was going back 7 years ago. The downside was transfers weren't popular as they are today. We have so many different types of media that the Stampinator does a really good job with. And back then I was trying to sell the Stampinator as an inline heat press. And my focus and goal was to go after the smaller shops that had the 1 or 2 automatics, but they were like team shops. They were doing vinyl numbers with a print, and thinking, we could take out that step where you could print the name, put the vinyl number on, all in one step. And I decided to sell the Stampinator for $20,000 because I thought, hey, I got a patent on it. Let's go out and sell it for $20K. It'll be awesome, right? Well, I think when I met you guys, or Ryan, that was in Texas we're at Fort Worth. And we had a gathering of people coming around just checking out what we had. It was just a little 10 by 10 booth. And, throughout the day, I could see Ryan looking over, and my brother and Ryan started talking. And I think at the end of the day, Ryan's like, hey, throw that sucker in this press and see what it can do. And that's kind of how the whole thing came about with ROQ and Ryanette.
That's awesome.
So that was Texas. I was trying to remember what trade show that was. Do you remember what year it was?
Oh, God. 16 maybe, right?
Sounds about right.
Yeah, 16, 17, somewhere around there. But that whole trip to Texas was just, it was tough because we got down there. The Stampinator was gone. It was the only one I had, and we found it. But it's been interesting since. It's been good.
And are you an engineer by trade then, or was this literally like you just had a need and?
Yeah, actually, I'm an engineer. I am. I am MacGyver. Thank God I grew up on MacGyver, right? So, look, I've always been savvy. I've had Jeeps. I've put lift kits on, pulled motors out, rebuilt the top end of motors, all that. Harleys. I have all my toys, and so mechanically inclined, yes. It allowed me to develop Stampinator and make that work. So it's funny on how just something so simple can really make a difference in printing. And I think about a lot of people out there in the engineering world of screen printing. These guys, they're great at what they do, but they're sitting up in an office thinking that, hey, you know what? I'm going to develop something. We're going to just make one. We'll sell it, see how it goes, and it doesn't work. Well, for me, being a printer for 26, 7 years, just knowing and understanding what we need, that's how the product was developed. And I kind of feel like, that I was like the innovator in the industry, because I think my Stampinator was out before the Rock Iron. And I know it was out before the Hothead and other units that are out there. But the hard part was getting someone on board. And I was fortunate that Ryan and Ryanette jumped on, because one thing that I've learned within the industry is, everyone's secretive. You have with their products, nobody wants to know and help you and deal with you. They want to build their own and take it to market and go from there. So, I was pretty thankful that you guys jumped on and really helped take Stampinator to another level.
That's awesome. So Ryan, for you, I mean, what was that tipping point? So you guys meet in Texas, you're looking over, you see this thing, sitting there. It's, something you haven't seen before. Like what kind of drove the relationship at that time to, get it on the press, see what it can do? And then how did you guys take it to that next, phase of kind of like a go-to-market with the product?
Well, first of all, one question for Jeff. So from the time you took that heat press apart to that trade show, how many years was that?
After it was before we actually started selling it?
No. Yeah. Like when we met at the trade show, for how long after when you took the heat press apart and first made the first one? How many years? Like what was the time frame there?
It was about a year and a half. Wow.
It's pretty fast.
Yeah. So the first unit I made weighed 75 pounds. It was like, it was pretty awkward, and now we have it down to 46.5 pounds. So big difference without the engineering.
Yeah, I just remember, I remember the name, and I'm like, what is this thing? Is it a heat press? Is it a flash dryer? And what's a Stampinator? Like the name, definitely stood out to you. And then your brother, Jonathan, is relentless. Like he was just like, hey, you want to try this thing? Like, hey, come over to our booth. And we get hit up, being Ryonet and that screenprinting.com website, we would get hit up all the time about like selling products on screenprinting.com. And so every once in a while you have a good idea. There's a lot of bad ideas. And like you kind of said, there's a lot of ideas that go absolutely nowhere. Like I have an idea, and they go absolutely nowhere. I mean, I've heard some doozies out there, just really horrible ideas. But this was obviously, you had a product. And so it's like, yeah, why not try it on a press? And really back then it was all towards heat transfers, and heat transfers in 2016, 2015 are nothing like heat transfers are today. Like heat transfer, ironically, like today, this has come back full circle, because we weren't even thinking about doing anything else with the Stampinator. It was like, just like, hey, you could do heat transfers on a screen printing press. Like, it's kind of cool. Let's see what it can do. So, and it was extremely heavy. Gave you a good workout.
Yeah. Well, hey, going back to the name. So I couldn't think of a name for it. And at the time, my daughter was like, hey, Dad, I want to watch Terminator. And I was like, perfect. So at the end of the movie, I was like, Stampinator. That's the name, because it stamps and it's just going to annihilate everything. We're going to crush numbers, 480 units an hour, right? So it was like, and 480, it was, at the time when I thought of Stampinator, I was always intrigued by WD-40, because WD was water displacement. It took 40 times for them to develop the product. And the first time I ran Stampinator, we yielded like 480 units an hour. And I'm like, it's Stampinator 480. Because I'm thinking, wow, that's a lot of transfers. And, at that point, we kept growing it bigger and bigger. And I think we were doing like 960 transfers an hour once we got it. And some of the tricks that we had to do were, our media that we were using, we'd use the adhesive, because we'd just throw, when we were doing the backpacks, we throw them on the sleeve pallet and they're swinging all over the place. But having that adhesive transfer on there from Stalls, we were hitting them for like 1.5 seconds. It was unbelievable. It really was. And then I found out that there wasn't a market for the Stampinator for heat transfers. And Ryan was like, hey, we need the matte down fibers on shirts. And that's a big problem within the industry. And now the two rock presses that I'm running, I have the Eco and the U. they actually run the Stampinator right after we print the underbase. So we eliminated the flash, we stamp, we mat our fibers, nice smooth surface. It's like you're printing on paper. And I can't see us using a flash on any press that we get at this point moving forward, because it's just the print is rewarding. And if you want to make your prints better, the Stampinator is it. And look, when it comes to other products on the market, I don't like to knock anyone. Everybody has their idea on what they're doing. But, one of the benefits to the Stampinator is when it prints and mats fibers, it comes down direct onto the garment and goes back up. Whereas your irons and rollers, they pull your shirt out of registration, especially if you're the shop that's using a spray adhesive. If you're using a water-based adhesive, you tend to get a little bit better hold. But even when that wears out, your shirt is going to get pulled. Whereas on the Stampinator, you'll never have any type of a misprint or lose registration. So it's a great product, and it does take a little bit to acclimate to, especially if you're a shop that has went out and purchased an automatic for the first time. Printing from manual to automatic, huge learning curve. So it's been interesting. And I think I would say somebody told me about a year ago to stop pleasing 110% of people out there, just please 90%. The other 10% forget about them. But I can't. I want the other 10% to be happy, and as well as the 90%. So it's been interesting. And I see now that we passed the pandemic, the Stampinator sales are starting to pick up. Inquiries are coming through more. And I think, we're coming in on our third year, and there's been a lot of people out there who are skeptical about it, like, oh, it's just a glorified heat press in a print head. I could build one myself. But now that people are seeing and hearing what the results are, it's starting to really pick up. And, the goal is, I love to see a Stampinator in every press, whether it's an old press or a new press, so it definitely makes a difference in your product.
That's awesome,
Look,
man.
The Stampinator has allowed me to pick up customers or clients like Live Nation. I'm printing within the music industry. I'm printing for the guys on the Discovery Channel for Street Outlaws. All those things make a difference. I do a print, I hit it with the Stampinator, I mail it out to these guys, I show them what we can do, and the next thing you know, I'm getting an order. I get a response like, your print is amazing. We've never had shirts like this before. So a lot of it is, your screen mesh of what you're using, how you're printing your underbase. But I truly, firmly believe that I couldn't do a better job without the Stampinator. It just really took the level of printing to another notch.
Nice, man. That's awesome. We're going to take a quick moment to take a commercial break. And when we get back, we will talk more Stampinator. We'll be right back.
With the highly advanced and now lighter in weight Stampinator, you'll have no problems printing on standard sleeve platens at record time. With smaller arms and a recent sleek redesign, the Stampinator will change the way you think about printing with its robust capabilities embedded in simplicity and intention. The Stampinator is now included with the purchase of a ROQ YOU while supplies last. To learn more about how the Stampinator and ROQ YOU can supercharge your production with the cleanest and most impressive prints, and access your free printing automation ready score and receive powerful insights to help you press onward, please visit ROQ.us or call 1-87-ROCKET-NOW. That's 877-674-8669.
All right, Earl, this one's for you, brother. Everybody's going to the river tonight. Orion's belt's gonna shine its light. Don't give a damn if the fish don't bite, 'cause you'll still reel them in. Everybody's going to the mountain top, drinking 94 up until we drop. Party, it ain't gonna ever stop until we meet again.
welcome everybody back to Rock Shop Talk, your one-stop rock shop where we talk all things screen printing. I am ROQ US President Ross Hunter. Alongside me today is our creative producer, Mr. Merrill Capps, Jeff Fiorucci of Slant Engineering, the inventor of the Stampinator, and Ryan Moor, partner at Made Lab and All Made. Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back from the break. We just heard from singer-songwriter Jake Necrelli. You can find him online at Music by Jake Necrelli. That's JakeNacrelli, and Jake Necrelli on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, and other streaming services. Ryan, tell us about the latest with Made Lab. What's going on? How have the classes been? And what I'm now dubbing them the Made Lab coats. I don't know how you feel about that, but I think there's something there. So what have you and the Made Lab coats been up to?
Well, thank you. It's been a lot of fun. We're almost to 20 events this year, and each one's gone really well. I think the last few have sold out. We have a new event, style of event this weekend called Made to Hustle with Stan Banks and a completely different audience. So it's been awesome to work with startup shops with Pigskins and Pigtails, Jennifer, and like the press hall team, like just completely newbies to the whole industry, then to like more advanced classes with the Made to Rock classes and automation. And then also we're doing a really cool water-based camp, which is definitely the most advanced class that we've done so far. And that's in the end of July in collaboration with Printing United. So a lot of fun. Events are a blast. Ross is great at events. Ross always throws amazing events, but they're a ton of work. And so it has been exhausting and a lot of trips to Texas, but I love Texas. Texas is fun.
I love Texas too. I'm from there. It's my favorite state.
From there.
I am
very
from there.
Cool.
Someone made a joke on the last podcast. We were all, I was in a podcast with M&R and MHM a week ago. It was live, and someone made a comment about how interesting listening to an Aussie, an Englishman, and a Texan talk on the podcast. I thought it was interesting. They even knew where I was from, so they must have been listening to one of our shows at some point where I dropped the whole Texas line. But
that's great.
I love that you're traveling there. That's awesome.
Yeah. Speaking of, so when you were down there, you just over the break we were talking about this. You made a couple of videos at Made with the Stampinator. I believe it was on the U. I could be wrong. Was it the U?
Yeah, we have a U and an oval there, and then Printed Threads uses it on. Printed Threads has like every single one of the rock presses. So between the two shops, there's every single press made. But they use it on the Next mostly. But a lot of people, we put it on the U first of all. And a lot of people think that it's harder to run on the U. I think the one thing about Jeff is he is an amazing screen printer. So if you ever get a chance to like hang out with Jeff at a trade show and just pick his brain about screen printing, like it's weird because this whole product was invented for like heat transfers, but the guy is a fantastic screen printer. And so he can really help dial in screen printing processes. And the Stampinator is just one of the tools in the tool chest to do that. But the guy's a great screen printer. He's taught me a lot about, how to build better underbases and use less ink and build a better print. Obviously, using the Stampinator for a lot of it, but just general screen printing best practices. I think I'd like to do a class with him and Made Lab too in the future.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
kind of fun. Like made to transfer. Ooh, Made to rock, made to transfer, made to stamp. It's a lot of. Actually, be kind of cool to have a transfer class. I think a lot of things people don't know about transfers. It's become more and more prevalent, but in terms of people just getting into the market that have maybe started screen printing or even have their first auto, and haven't really gotten into that transfer game. I mean, that could be something actually really cool there, really beneficial to people to learn.
I dig that. I kind of want to open the talk right now to that very topic. And both of you kind of jockey on this, what your experience is. But Jeff, could you talk to how the Stampinator works with the U specifically, and how people can elevate their print with it, and also just any kind of pitfalls to avoid, insider tips to streamline operations, et cetera, with maximizing the performance of this partnership between the machines?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the U is, one of a little bit different press from the Eco and a few of the other presses where all heads come down at once. What I find is when you're utilizing the U, it's best to allow the print head to stay down instead of coming back up. So I find a lot of print shops, they like to double stroke their underbase. So in that case, if you're going to double stroke your underbase on a U, you want to go into your print head. You want to choose final and pre-flood, and you want to set your strokes to 3. That will give you a double stroke with the print head staying down. The other part with running the Stampinator in the U is we speed it up so we get about 4 seconds between the flood and or together with the flood and the squeegee. That allows Stampinator to stay down for 3 seconds versus having the Stampinator come up and down on a double stroke. The other setting that that I like to make sure there's always set is the pre-flood, because if you don't put the pre-flood on, the print head, when you stop and start a new cycle, the squeegee will go up, come back, and then as the print head's coming up, the squeegee's decided it's going to flood. And then you end up laying more ink down, you get a blur on your image, and I'll get a phone call saying, hey, the Stampinator is blurring my image. Well, that's because there's too much ink that's being pushed through the screen at that point from being raised up. And I think that, there are videos out there for it, for people to watch and see. It's just, there's a lot of bells and whistles with the press that people need to learn as they move forward with having the U in their shop. The other part is when you set the U up in the install on the Stampinator, it's important that you put the off contact at 0. I've noticed that a lot of U's, they need to be at 0 to get that 1/8 to 1/4 inch compression with the Stampinator. On the ROQ Eco, we can set it between 3 and 5. And I really think that's just the difference between the length of the print head and the setting on how it's leveled when it's being installed. It's just a smaller version of, really the Eco with the print heads coming down at once.
What settings do you set the Stampinator to when you're using it as that second head flash?
As a second head flash, so we test with Rutland and Wilflex, but now that all these ink companies are being bought out by Rutland and Wilflex, they all seem to keep the brand the same, the opacity the same. One thing that I find is look at what the ink manufacturer's telling you. If it cures at 280, then you want to back the Stampinator down to about 290. I get a lot of questions. Well, look, I was always told you can't cure the underbase because the print won't stay on. Well, with Stampinator, you are curing the underbase. We can cure it 4 seconds. Okay, when we mat down the fibers, we're not looking for a full sheen on the garment of the print. One of the biggest questions I get is, I don't have a full sheen. It's shiny in the middle, or it's shiny to the left or to the right. Well, the fabrics are different. So, they're not always balanced and even. So you're going to get different levels of shine and matte finish. As long as you have a smooth finish and those fibers are being matted down, it's like printing on paper at that point. So it's just really a learning curve, but really understanding and paying attention to what the manufacturer recommendations are on your inks. One thing I find is a lot of people don't like to read directions or follow the proper steps. They just want to jump into it and figure it out. And this business is a very technical business. You can be a professional screen printer, or you could be the mom and pop screen printer. Okay, so the mom and pop is the guy that comes home after work. He's doing it for some extra money. The professional screen printer is making a living out of this industry and taking it to a whole nother level. And the Stampinator will do that for you. It's really a plug and play unit. You put it in, you make the settings with your off contact, you adjust your heat, and you print. And you can do some amazing prints. We print with the U now. I have a 7-color 10 station. We print a lot of jobs that are 5, 6 colors, sometimes 7, where we have to use the flash to pull the stamp out. But we print and we stamp at about 2.5 seconds, and we'll print directly on top, wet on wet, and we're getting amazing prints. So it's just really knowing and understanding the industry and the equipment that you're utilizing to make your prints better.
That was one of the questions I was. Oh, go ahead, Ryan.
What temperature is it? 320 at 2.5 seconds that you set it to?
So at 2.5 seconds, we're at 335. So we go from a 1 second to about 3 seconds at 335. And then we get up to between 4 and 7, we come down to like 320 roughly. So the Stampinators, they all go out. They're already preset at 335. If you increase that heat, you're going to have your ink, your underbase is going to gel. And then when you go to print the next head, if you don't have a cool down, or even if you have a cool down and your shop's real warm, you're going to get tack. It's going to stick to the back of the screen, and your ink's going to start drying in the screen. But one of the benefits with the Stampinator, especially when we're running the Eco, is I always hear a lot of people in shops say, "Oh, it's important to heat up your palettes before you print." Well, that's true if you're using like a water-based adhesive. You want to heat that up. But technically, when you use the Stampinator, you can put the water-based adhesive down, print your underbase, and stamp. And it creates almost like a little bit of a steam each time it goes around. So sometimes we're yielding about 650 units before we have to go back and put the water-based adhesive on. The benefit with the water-based adhesive is, as well, as when you're printing and you don't have to preload your shirts. You can just go right in, and the Stampinator can print the palette with the water-based adhesive. It won't stick. If you're using a spray glue, it'll tend to stick to the back of the Teflon sheet. So if you're printing like a hoodie on the U, it's always important to preload your sweatshirts. Spray your glue, preload, and then start your cycle, because you get the glue on, it's going to ruin the print on your sweatshirt or your t-shirt at that point. Yeah. So what else you have for the
one of the questions I was going to ask, which I guess is, related to any machine, whether it be a ROQ or YOU or Eco or an M&R. I know that your machine works across multiple different manufacturers. Is when someone gets this, how hard is it to get set up? Like, what do they need to think about in terms of, electricity or, setting it into the press, hooking that up? How does it clamp in? Like, just kind of describe the process of getting one in, opening it out of the box, and what do folks need to think about ahead of time?
Yeah. So some of the things that you need to think about is in your shop. First of all, the Stampinator, it's a single phase unit. So it's 220, 240. It's 3,500 watts. It draws 17 amps. So you need a 30 amp breaker. Your plug adapter needs to be a 30 amp. You can plug it into any type of press that is a 3-phase. You just end up dropping one of the legs in the 3-phase. You cut that back or have your electrician do that. And you can run as long as you're getting 125 out of each leg or 115 out of each leg to get your 220. The other part is it's really, it's simple to install. You basically put it in place of your screen or any type of flash that's mounted in the print head, lock down your clamps, and then always tighten up the knobs just to give it a little extra security. One thing I will say on the U, I've had a few customers that have reached out where it's important to slide the print carriage all the way back and then adjust the procs. So if somebody does decide to turn on that print head, it's not going to come forward. We had some issues where the print head came forward and it knocked the Stampinator out of the back when they were printing, and it literally fell off to the side on the floor. So just some things to think about when you're doing it within your shop and really training your employees to make sure that that print head is turned off. A lot of people know that, so it's not much of an issue. I think the issue was just with some people who had a new press in their print shop.
One of the things that people don't realize is that this is like a heat press. So think about your heat press and the different platens that you have to use. You can't just stick a small kid's shirt on a heat press on the top of a heat press and hit. You can, but it's going to flatten down all the surfaces of that shirt, like the collar or the sleeves. So if you are doing different sizes of shirts, you want to have smaller platens, like a youth platen or a sleeve platen, in order to not have those seams up. And then you also want to make sure that you're setting your artwork or your screens up so that you're printing color off for traditional screen printing. And we can talk about how to set up for transfers separately, which is a little bit different than that. But it's not just quite as simple as plug and play with a flash dryer, like squeezing a youth large shirt on an adult platen, because you are hitting it on contact.
And in terms of like other like special effects, so we've talked about transfers, we've talked about matting down, our fibers or fibrillation, using it as a flash after an underbase. What other applications, like, does it work on foil if you're pressing foil? I mean, what are some other things that you guys have used it for, and special effects wise?
Yeah, so we do a little bit of foil. One thing that I find is the foil that you're getting from the manufacturer, it has a shelf life of literally a year. And when you buy it, we don't know how long it's been sitting on. We've had really good success with infinity foil. And when we print, we use a 150 mesh. We're using X glue, and we print the X glue wet, and then we lay the foil on top, and then we stamp it. It does a great job. Now, we do get once in a while, some lift up where it's missing. But even when you're using like a rock iron or M&R's hothead, it's the same thing. It's not that the units, the roller and the irons, they can't handle it. It's just the foil is just bonded to that carrying sheet, and it won't come off for whatever reason. So it does a great job with foil, but you have to be patient. Sometimes we're hitting it at anywhere from 8 to 10 seconds. It really depends on what we're doing. If we're doing a small amount of foil, it does an amazing job. We'll add foil release to our inks, and I'll put the Stampinator at the last print head, and we have an open head, and we'll just lay the foil right on top of it and stamp it. And then we use the hot peel, so the shirt unloader is actually pulling the foil off. Different types of media that we do. We do a ton of neck labeling, and we do all of that with a transfer. So I use Art Brands for all my transfers. It's just basically a screen print that we'll do for one color. And if it's multi, we'll do a digital print. And we run about 1,000. Our best was 1,010 an hour for adding neck labels. So I have 2 ink cups that we actually do neck labels, and 2 of them we can do 8,000 shirts in an 8-hour shift with 2 of the ink cups. But everybody likes running the neck label with the heat transfer. So we've been talking, it's like, we got to get a smaller press just to do, a transfer neck label with Stampinator. So when you look at things like that, if you're creative, you can utilize the Stampinator, I feel, in many ways within your shop.
So
yeah.
So one other point on that, Jeff, is like, if you are doing transfers, definitely get the pallet rubber that can either glue on, or a second set of platens for the machine, whatever. Like M&R, Workhorse, those other machines come with a pallet rubber that works good because it gives a little bit of cushion underneath that heat press, the same way the bottom of a heat press is not solid metal, so it has that cushion, that Teflon cushion underneath on a heat press. So if you are using that on a ROQ or a MHM that has like straight honeycomb aluminum, you do want to probably get a second set of platens in order to have that rubber on top to give that give.
Yeah,
and
so
that will
absolutely. So not to interrupt you, but just to touch base on that point. So the rubber we want to use if we want to cure shirts. If we're doing transfers, the rubber that you find on your traditional heat press, we're going to go with, instead of using a 3/8 sponge rubber, we're going to go with like a 1/4 inch or a 1/16 of an inch or an 1/8 of an inch, depending on the media that we're doing and what product we're putting it on. So when we do our neck labels, we literally cut out a 3x3 1/4 inch thick sponge rubber. We cut 2 pieces. We put one in the front and one in the rear. So when the Stampinator comes down, it still stays level. you definitely need something where the heat's going to reflect back up to apply that transfer. If you are using a rubber mat on your pallet, and you want to do a transfer in junction with maybe a print, you can do that as well. But it's important to make sure that you have pallets with rubber that do not have any dips in them. A lot of the rubber that's out there, they form these little pockets because the rubber actually has air in it, and then they end up concaving down. So going back to Ryan's point, you can run the rubber on your pallets, and you can have 2 sets of pallets to do that. I highly recommend that. One of the benefits in our shop is we have 2 sets of pallets. We cut the gum. I keep calling it gum rubber, but we cut the rubber down to about 15 inches wide. That allows us, when we're printing a lady's bellow or a next level, we can pull the seams right over top of it, because all of our prints that we do are mostly 14 inches wide, maybe 14 and a half. And you can pull the seams right down and drop the collar, and it raises up just a little bit. It does an excellent job for that. So that's one of the things I recommend. It's cheaper to use the gum rubber on your pallet than it is to go out and buy an extra set of pallets if you can't afford it. But you will have to continue using the rubber on your pallets for every job that you print. So we changed ours out because of some of the clientele that we have. We're printing the entire size of the pallet, and with today's prices of ink, it's absolutely crazy. You just blow through it. But yeah, it's the rubber is key to having a really good transfer.
So the sponge rubber, is it just normal sponge rubber, neoprene sponge rubber, or what's the thickness again that you get? Like the neck labels and stuff?
Yeah, so I always recommend doing like a 1/16 to a 1/4 of an inch, because if you're using the 3/8, you're going to have to always think about the Stampinator. You're going to have to adjust the off contact, bring that down almost about an inch. And on the rock presses, it's millimeters. But you don't want to have it where you put that on and you don't adjust the Stampinator, and all of a sudden the heat platen's coming up and really compressing your springs. So now, and again, Brian, this is different types of media. When you get into DTF transfers, we are basically using the white rubber from Action Engineering with the adhesive. We put that on our pallets, and we're doing DTF pretty much, all day long without any issue. The key to DTF printing or transfers is you have to hit it once with the carrying sheet. You peel the carrying sheet off, and then you have to hit it again. And it gives you a pretty amazing job, especially when you're running any type of wicking type material. It really bonds to that material well. And again, that also depends on where you get your transfer from. So in the DTF, they run the print. It has a shaker with powder, and then it goes through an oven. And if it's over cured, it's going to take a lot longer for that transfer to release off the carrying sheet.
I'll use this little break in conversation to take a commercial break. We will be right back to talk more Stampinator.
Why are you here to unite? Record a selfie video up to 20 seconds telling us why you're here to unite, to be included in an industry collective video collage. Be sure to include your name, your company name, and where you're located. Show your solidarity and submit your video answer to unitetogether.us. That's Unite Together. Unite. Understand new ideas through empathy.
The art of working hard, it ain't all how you play your
Want to welcome everybody back to Rock Shop Talk, your one-stop rock shop where we talk all things screen printing. I'm ROQ US President Ross Hunter. Alongside me today is our creative producer, Mr. Merrill Capps, Jeff Fiorucci of Slant Engineering, also the inventor of the Stampinator, which we were talking about today, and Mr. Ryan Moor, a partner in All Made Labs, and lots of things screen printing as well. Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Welcome back from the break. Over the break, you heard from, again, singer-songwriter Jake Necrelli. Find him online at Music by Jake Necrelli on all major streaming platforms. Thank you so much. And Jeff, Ryan, now Ross too. Last we spoke, we were talking about the U and the Stampinator together. I wanted to open up the conversation of what it's like on the rest of the ROQ fleet, perhaps other machines as well. Differences, how we can give value to our listeners.
Well, first of all, let me say, Ross, you used to run a screen printing shop.
Mm-hmm.
What you had a M&R Diamondback, which you got from Roundnet forever ago. And what would have this done for you, like running a shop, like in the quality of your prints and stuff like that in the Southern California market, the school market?
It would have made a huge difference. I mean, we always tried to find ways to do this without actually doing it or spending money. I mean, at the time, this was in what, 07, 08. I mean, this kind of technology, Jeff maybe had it in his shop, right? Because you invented it, but it wasn't like, tools like this just weren't market ready. So we what did we do? We'd flash things way too hot. We'd bring them underneath the screen with nothing in it except for ball bearing grease. And we'd run a squeegee, basically, and print grease over the top of this. We essentially are creating our own Stampinator without any technology. And, it did bad things to the ink, right? It wasn't the right way of doing things. And so, it would make an absolutely huge difference. And for those of people out there that are doing things that way, that like I used to do them, and trust me, it's still, I've seen it many, many times in today's day and age. It's such an inexpensive thing to buy, and such a huge tool that's going to save you a ton of time and really make things look the way that you want them to. So, I would have loved to have had this. Absolutely. And Jeff, maybe you had it. When did you actually put it on? So when you made this, how many years ago? I don't think that we said that.
Yeah, we're coming back about like 7 years ago, roughly.
That's when you made your prototype then. Okay.
Yeah.
So you pretty quickly then took it from prototype to going to a show and having that first like beta version out then.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what did you do before?
Always been a screen
printer. You were printing. Yeah. So what did you like?
What was your method?
What was the Stampinator before you actually had the idea to take apart a heat press and go do this? Did you guys use rollers? Were you being inventive with screens like we did? Did you do anything? What was the thought before you invented this?
We use a traditional heat press, I never used a roller because I just was like, I could do what you said. We would put ink in a screen and use a squeegee to, mat down everything.
Right.
You would get, I feel like if you use a hard, 70, 80, 90 durometer squeegee, you're getting the same effect as what the roller is, So the only downside was we'd have like white ink in there and a screen would tear or something would happen. And then next thing you know, you just ruin, a shirt or two, which isn't a big deal, but the cleanup was the part that took forever.
So, I've seen, like, Ross, you used grease. I've seen clear. A lot of people use clear in that situation.
We used grease. So we actually used the grease that we greased our machine with.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
And the reason was it was heat tolerant. So it, unlike an ink or an actual screen printing product, it never dried in the screen because it was completely heat tolerant and it didn't dissipate. And so it just kind of stayed there indefinitely. It was the worst use of a head on the face of the planet. It would have been nice to have something in there that functioned for more than just that. But we did tons of names and numbers. And I'll tell you, when we did all those sports teams, the agony of the amount of time that it took for me, and I didn't want to, I never bought more heat presses. So it's like, you're standing there watching someone. It's like watching paint dry. And it's, 8 seconds on this side and then 8. And I mean, thinking now, we've actually had clients with the Stampinator get quotes on presses. So an entire ROQ YOU with only one head. And I'm like, this is so inventive, because all of the, a lot of the money that you spend on a press is in how many heads it has. So if you're pulling all that off, you're basically buying a base, you're buying the platens and the computer system, and you've got the one head set up for a Stampinator. And I mean, you just run transfers all day long with one or maybe two people, I guess, if you're just gunning it. And I had never thought that way before. I mean, most of us are used to, you spend $1,500 or whatever on a clamshell, and you're like, okay, I do this a lot. Let me buy 5 or 6 of these. Where in all reality, your money is all dumped into labor. It's now you're paying 5 or 6 people to run clamshells instead of one person to move things at 480 pieces plus an hour.
Yeah, Ross.
So with a clamshell, how fast can you print on it? Like, how many transfers an hour can you do on a clamshell?
I'd have to sit and get a calculator, but I guess by simple math, probably I would say if you're doing well, maybe 6 to 10 a minute. So
no way, that fast? Like,
no.
What do you think, Jeff?
I mean, you got 10. Well, you got the time off, the time on. Plus you got to set it up. Maybe you're doing like 3 a minute or something. In all reality, because you got to straighten everything out.
It's about 15 seconds between taking off, putting one, and lining up. So you're probably going to do on average maybe 150 an hour, maybe less.
Yeah, on a good day.
It feels like less even.
Yeah, it could. I mean, it could be less. Yeah, it depends on your operator who's running it.
And then your next step up from that is like a dual fusion, which those are nice. They run on air, but that can double your efficiency, or like it upwards of 250, 300 ish. You think
on a dual? Yeah, you could probably do that on a dual. And again, at that point, it's all on the operator. Which great. What I love about the automatic is the automatic's an operator, right? So as fast as you set that, your 2 loaders and unloaders, they have to move just as fast, right? When you go over to the clamshell is going to move as fast as you are, right? At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. One thing I want to touch base on, one of the things that Ross was saying about, having one press with doing transfers. Going back, I have one customer who, and I'm not going to mention any names, but they want a transfer on their order, right? So it's actually 4 colors, and they think that they're getting a transfer from me, and they're not. We print them, and we set the Stampinator up at the last head, and we hit it for 4 seconds, and it gives you that sheen, and it looks exactly like a transfer. If we use a matte finish with a craft paper under the Stampinator, it gives you that screen print look. But that's some of the cool things about the Stampinator is you can do some different effects with it to get something a little bit different in the retail world if you're in the retail side of the business versus going back and hitting it with a traditional heat press, because we do have a handful of customers that buy the Stampinator for, in the retail world they call it heat tapping. So after the shirt's printed, they go over and they hit it with a heat press. They're doing that with Stampinator, placing it at the last print head to give it that look, and it really works well within the college and collegiate market, because they love that look of the sheen. When you hang up a sweatshirt, a Champion sweatshirt or a independent sweatshirt, and it's shiny 2 or 3 color school logo on there, it stands out in their store and it makes a statement, so we have a lot of customers that do use it for that purpose.
Interesting.
That's awesome.
And then how many people do you think are actually curing? Is one of the things. So my thought process of the Stampinator was like, okay, first like need transfers. Okay. But not a lot of people doing them. Now it's been interesting, even this conversation, it's come full circle. There's so many more transfers being used because of the different types of fabrics and all these different variables. And DTF is like on fire right now. So Supercolor, all that stuff. Now, then you had like, okay, well, we could use it as an iron or replace a roller to mat down heads. And then it was like, well, somebody could like actually put an automatic press in their garage with 17 amps of power and not have to have a 50 to 60 amp conveyor dryer. because they can actually cure on press. Now, I don't see a lot of people doing that. I know a couple guys in Texas that are doing it, but how many people do you know that are doing curing on press with any type of automatic out there?
So I would say, I know I have about 10 to 15 people out there that are actually using it to cure. I have three guys that have Anatols that are doing it. One guy's in his garage. He's got a business which he does web marketing. And then he was doing screen print, which he just switched over to DTF. But look, when I first got my press from Ryan Ed, and I didn't have a dryer, I had over 275,000 impressions that I cured on my press I was running that for a year and a half that way. And, at the time I had a partner within the industry, so I had a full-time job, and that was just really coming up and testing and printing and using the Stampinator. But I was printing for a lot of customers that are in the retail. And, I was a little concerned in the beginning, thinking, God, I hope every shirt's cured. I hope there's no issues. And, we did a lot of tests. We printed 144 shirts. We did a wash test, and every shirt held up, and it was amazing. So if you're a small shop and you have a manual press and you want to grow your business, it's like any other business. If you're a screen printer and you're running automatics and you're tapped out at 2, and you know that if you make that move, you go buy your third automatic, you're going to be able to fulfill the need for that, right? You're going to put shirts on the press. It's the same thing for all the people with manual shops. Invest into a small automatic, buy it with a Stampinator, set it up with the right rubber on your pallets, and I guarantee you, with 4 to 7 seconds, you can get a cure on your shirt, on press, and it will take your business to another level. From a manual shop to still printing on an automatic, doing 3 times the amount of what you're doing in a manual shop. And it makes it more enjoyable, because you're a manual printer. When you master it, you're good. It takes, especially when you're printing halftones and trying to do different techniques. But curing at 4 to 7 seconds with Stampinator is amazing. And, I still have a lot of people out there who just can't believe that we're doing that. And they're still a little skeptical on it. But you don't know until you buy it and try it.
How does it translate to the other presses? Like the experience going from the U to the next, the Eco and onward. Is there any differences with settings or things to look out for? Is it work better for certain things, et cetera?
Was that to Ross or to me?
Oh, sorry. To you.
Because I thought you said Ross.
I was interrupting you.
Oh, so on the press, when you're running the Eco, it works really well in the Eco. You basically can program the head. ROQ has been generous enough to put the Stampinator program in there. You can program it for 1 second to 20 seconds if you like. The next, same thing. It just allows you to have more control over what you're doing. So as you start to speed up your press, you can run a lot faster for the shops that do the high volume. We were at, it was going back maybe 2 years before the pandemic. We had Josh at Liquid Graphics. I went up, I put it in, and he was like, if that can't stamp for a second, then we don't want it, because they literally print 1,000 shirts an hour. And we were printing and curing the shirt within 1 second, for them to go and follow up and print. It was amazing. But, look, when it comes to the U and the ROQ, it's definitely 2 learning curves. The learning curve for the Eco, you just put it in place and you hit the seconds and you walk away. The U, it takes a little bit of time, making some adjustments, the proper adjustments to your squeegees, the speed, and your print head coming up and down. I feel like it was made for the ROQ Eco and the next. Now we have Eric from Night Owl Graphics, who I believe he has 3 Stampinators, and he does all water-based printing. And when he has a problem and if something happens, he's on the phone hounding me like, dude, I need it tomorrow. I need it tomorrow, because it is part of everything that they do in their shop. It really, truly is.
Well, I think that that's a print standard that would be awesome to see in the industry, because if you look at like how much waste there is just from shitty prints, like people just getting a print. Our family just got chosen to be like a ambassador for Keystone RV. And so like, we'll send you t-shirts. I was like, oh, yay, we're going to get a t-shirt. And so we got these t-shirts. First of all, I asked why they eco-friendly, because their whole theme this year is camp better. So camp more eco-friendly. And they were eco-friendly. They were the Sanmar District Ricci. So I'm like, yeah, good job. Eco-friendly shirts. And I get this, and it is a hairy ass, super thick plastisol print that is just awful, like just awful. And like, I'm never going to wear it. Like, if they just used that same print with the Stampinator, they probably would have used a third of the ink. Like, seriously, and ink's so expensive. And I would have got the shirt. It didn't have to be water-based. It could have been plastisol. And I've been like, oh, this is a nice print. Like, because you're printing, because when you get those fibers matte down, you can go up in your mesh, you can put less ink down on your base, and you can put less ink down on top because you're not trying to cover up fibers. And your customers are going to be so much more happier. If that was the standard in the industry, people that didn't have one couldn't survive. Like, there's other ways to do it, but it's harder to get there. You know, the irons and the rollers, you can do it. You just have to become better printers doing it. So, but the end result is better quality shirts that last longer. The people like wearing more, they get thrown away less.
Yeah, so if any of our listeners out there who happen to be partners with ROQ US are the ones that printed those Keystone shirts that Ryan just slammed, I will happily gift you a Stampinator for his comments. So just throwing that out there. Those next rounds of shirts, they're going to be on all made shirts, and they're going to be printed on a rock with the Stampinator, and they're going to come out fantastic. Perfect.
And, well, hey, look, Ryan, you made a good point, right? Like, a 30-gallon drum of ink 6 months ago was paying $1,250. Right now, it's $2,400 for a 30-gallon drum. It's doubled. So I can't tell you how much I stress. Make sure everything's burned on a 230 for the underbase. We don't want to use much ink. You know, it's just it's crazy.
So that's what you use on the underbase is 230?
Yeah, we run either 156 or 230, and we follow with 230s and 305s.
So if you think about that, like most printers, a lot of printers still on an auto print through a 110. We typically teach to at least start at a 157, 160 range. But even if you're going from a 160 to a 230, just do the math. That's 33% less ink that you're using, you know?
Absolutely. And it's easier to learn. If you're a first-time automatic press owner, it's easier to learn with a higher mesh than it is with a lower mesh, because a lot of times what I'm finding is with all these new printers, they're laying down so much ink that it's just, they have tack buildup. They can't get it to cure. It's cracking. I see it on all these groups that are posting on Facebook and Instagram. And, you know, one of the benefits is for anyone out there who buys a Stampinator, you get free consulting from me. I will make you a better printer. Absolutely. And I could do that within a week, you know, giving you and teaching you the proper techniques. You know, it's, to me, I like to share my knowledge with everyone, you know, and I don't want to be the guy that's hidden in private and trying to make my shop even bigger and better. And I don't want you to grow. I want you to grow with me, and I want to grow with you because you purchased the Stampinator. You know, it's just a lot of people want to be a better printer. They just don't have that technology or knowledge to do it. And it's out there, it's on the internet, but there's a lot of false, bad information, you know, from people that are posting on how to do things the right way versus the wrong way. And in reality, they're teaching them the wrong way. Mm-hmm. So,
hey,
absolutely.
Jeff, I know you've talked about labor in your shop. That's a hard thing to get, you know, even manufacturing the Stampinators and the back orders and the labor situation. You've automated a ton of stuff. You have 2 rock presses, the Stampinators, you have Lotus Holland, Screen Reclaim. But have you ever thought about opening up like an internship program so people could come and work with you for a week and learn and help you out in your shop as part of that labor pool?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I've reached out to some of the local high schools to do that. And, you know, it's the problem for me is that it's hard to bring in a handful of people to train them when you're busy and you're running production, and trying to give someone that hands-on experience and really working, side by side with them. Because one of the things that when an internship, again, it's hard to find good workers who are coming into a field that they really want to learn. And screen printing, with the heat and the elements that we work in, it's not for everyone. It's tough. It's a tough environment, especially when you're on the East Coast with the humidity. And
I'm talking like a screen printer that wants to just come give you free labor they already know how to screen print.
Oh yeah,
they just want to come learn from you. Like,
yeah, hey, look, if somebody in their shop wants to come in my shop and come in and give and for free labor and work side by side and help and learn, absolutely, send me 15 of them tomorrow. I am in.
We had a customer at the Made to Rock class. He just got a rock. He's a rodeo guy, Dale Brisby, and like he does that. That's how he staffs his ranch. Is like he's like, I'll teach you how to rodeo, but you'll come intern. And he actually pays them, but he doesn't say that he pays them. Yeah, and he has 12,000 young men and women, like just waiting for the chance to come work for him. Like, what a great pipeline of like,
Yellowstone is probably giving him a boost.
Oh, for sure.
No doubt.
That's
well,
awesome.
What's up next for Made Lab, and what's on the horizon for Stampinator and Slant Engineering in general?
Well, Jeff, why don't you talk about all the crazy products? Jeff's crazy. He always calls me with new ideas. So like, hey, Ryan, what about this idea? I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. How are you going to do that? He's like, I don't know. I got to figure it out. What are some of the new things you're working on that you can say that?
Yeah. So I do have one that actually, I'm going to try to break out here in October, and it's called the Lentinator. Go figure, right? So basically, we are actually, those little fuzzy balls and boogers that you get on the back of your underbase. We actually came up with the concept that actually removes the lint off your T-shirt before you print, so you don't have to stop and wipe your screen down every 300 shirts or whatever it is. So one of the things that the reason why I wanted to develop and create this was one thing I learned with rock presses. You don't have a rubber base that you're printing on that aluminum pallet. And when you start to run out of ink, that squeegee actually picks up the fibers and it comes through the shirt or through the screen. Then you have the fibers inside your ink. And not necessarily that, it's going to take all the Lentinator is going to pull them all off, but it will really alleviate some of that pain with all the fibers that are on the back of your screen. And we feel like,
nice.
You could put them throughout your press. You could have 2 or 3. And I do have one other one that, that we're working on is Ryan mentioned the Lotus Holland. It's been one of the best employees I've ever purchased. He never calls out. He is here 24/7. It's amazing, and I can get anybody to run that thing. The other one is when we break down screens is we use product from Safety Clean where we clean the squeegees out. So now we have come up with this concept that when you break down your press, you ink card the ink off your squeegee and flood bar, you put it on this belt, it goes through, and within 6 minutes, your squeegee comes out clean. All you have to do is dry it and pop it in your screen. So by the time you set up and break down, your squeegees should come through. But again, in most shops, you always have like a double set of squeegees or maybe 3 sets. But that is one of the biggest things. When I find people who are cleaning squeegees, they move like a snail. And that squeegee cleaner always seems to be in the worst part of the building where there's no airflow, right? That's every shop. So
the most caustic chemicals too, right?
Mm-hmm. And the most caustic chemicals. It's if you can do something where you have we're using enzymes that break down the ink versus these harsh chemicals that look, I'm exposed to them. Okay, I've been printing for 27 years. I've been using chemicals that were not safe for you, and all these articles come out now and talk about Parkinson's disease. It's because of the chemicals that get into your body that we're using, throughout our lifetime. And unfortunately, the screen print industry is one of those industries that, when it says to wear gloves, wear gloves. If it says to wear safety glasses, wear safety glasses. It's just because it will affect you later on in life, because it says that on there. But the problem is every screen printer that I know that is, like I always say, owner operator, where they're out in the print shop, they are rushing. Okay. You can rush and you can break down your screens. You can hustle to get the ink out and all that. You're not going to print any more shirts that day than what you normally do. So slow down, take the time, and just do everything correctly. Keep your shop clean. One of the best things that still sticks with me to this day was Ryan. He stopped by the shop a couple years back, and he comes in, and I was sitting down the water-based adhesive on the last print head, and it had glue all over it. And Ryan's over there cleaning it off, because the green was just kind of like covered with just gook, and it was like, but that's my shop. We clean, everything's clean and neat, because to me, why go out and spend $100 and some thousand on a piece of equipment and not take care of it? It's important to take care of your equipment within the industry. You're making a lifetime investment into your business. And when I say lifetime, your press should last you a lifetime. It should never break down. You can replace parts, but if you keep it dialed in and clean, it'll work forever. And that's what I love about the ROQ press. We print butt-to-butt registration, and we never lose registration. I go in the shops that running different types of equipment, and they're setting a trap at like 1 point all the way around. To me, go be a professional at what you do. And to be a professional, unfortunately, you need a Stampinator, right? So,
had to get that in there.
Nice plug.
Well, and in terms of that, I mean, everybody should know that while supplies last, Stampinator is included with the purchase of a ROQ YOU auto.
Sweet.
Very important information.
Up your screen printing game. I know that, like, anyone who's if that's your first automatic press, or if you're adding another automatic press or replacing an automatic press, guaranteed it's gonna up level your prints. And I think, Jeff, so in summary, if you want to learn how to do butt-to-butt registration, print wet on wet, do heat transfers at 1,100 pieces an hour, you can just send Jeff an email at jeff@slantengineering.com and apply to be an intern in his shop.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
You mentioned Eric from Night Owls. He is actually helping us teach that water-based camp. And he made us some technical tips to put on Instagram and stuff on the madelab.io channel on Instagram. And two of them were with the Stampinator. He absolutely loves that thing. He's like, this is by far like the best tool that we have for great water-based prints in our shop. So that's the next thing that we have coming up at MadeLab is we are doing the water-based camp, WB camp, on the 29th and 30th of July. And it is going to be taught by Eric and Val from Night Owls and Colin Shane, who's been around the block, literally, been around the world, literally. He had a couple ROQ presses, got into water-based printing. Then he got some M&R presses and expanded water-based printing. He then went back to ROQ presses. He has the biggest oval right now in the US because he emulates international water-based printing. So he's been in Bangladesh, working with Jeffrey Paul at Young One over the last 6 to 7 months, almost a year, I think, maybe. And so he's going to teach all of those techniques that he's learned from how to do international printing, but on small US-based formats. We're going to do a print that they would do in Bangladesh, but we're going to do it on the ROQ YOU P8. So nice. He's going to teach that. And then Jesse from Matsui and Dave Macon from Saudi on better screen making. So really excited about that. I think water-based, people went back to plastisol a lot. It was a big topic before the pandemic, but just with the pandemic and the labor shortages and everything, people are just okay, we need to do what's easy. We're going to leave ink in the screens. It doesn't have to worry about drying. So a lot of people went back to just strictly focusing on plastisol. But now that plastisols have gone up so much in price, water bases haven't gone up. They've gone up a little bit, but not nearly as much. And so I think a lot of people are looking back at that and looking at the quality of it again. So I think it'll be a great, great workshop.
That's awesome. Well, it's great to hear what you guys both have coming up. It's exciting. I can't wait for the Lintinator. So we'll be previewing that whenever Jeff is ready to throw it our way. And definitely check out Made Lab's website for all their upcoming classes, the ones that Ryan just spoke of. And we also have some awesome Made to Rock classes for those of you interested in, getting better at your automated skills, and possibly even just seeing what ROQ is all about. If you don't know anything about us and you're looking to get into the industry or make a move potentially from another brand. With that, guys, let's give our audience just how they find you and get in touch with you, both your website, social handles, and email address if you want to throw it out, Jeff's personal phone number for internships if you want to give that to everyone. We'll start with Jeff and then go to Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, you can reach out at, you can go to slantengineering.com or stampinator.com. You can reach me at jeff@slantengineering.com. But again, like Ross said, here's my personal phone. I always throw it out. It's 410-718-6618. So if you do want to come out and spend a day or 5 days in my shop, I guarantee you when you leave, it'll be a wealth of knowledge, and it'll take you to a whole nother level within your print shop. And it would be a good thing. I would enjoy working with anyone who is up for that opportunity.
That's awesome, cool, man. Thanks for putting that out there. And Ryan, where can people find the many ventures that you're involved in?
So if you go to madelab.io, that is like all the classes and education that we have coming up there. And then just follow me on Instagram at Ryan Moor, no E at the end, allmade.com or at allmade apparel and all the other stuff. So
awesome, guys. Well, Jeff, Ryan, appreciate having you both here today. It's a great conversation. Excited for what's next in the future. And for those of you listening, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Continue to press onward and rock on. Thanks a lot.
Cheers. Thanks to Jeff Fiorucci and Ryan Moor for joining us today. As always, thank you for spending time with us this week, and thank you for the opportunity to be your partner in print. Tune in at your convenience wherever you listen to your podcast by searching ROQ Shop Talk. If you'd like to request to be on the show, please visit roq.us/ROQ Shop Talk. If you found today's episode helpful, please recommend it to a friend who you think may find it helpful as well. Please like, share, and subscribe on social media. And until next time, printers, press onward.